Hello, let's talk about section 3 of chapter 4 now. And so some of this is going to be quite a review for you. First of all, food chains. Obviously, you guys, we've talked about food chains in class and worked on them. So hopefully it's straightforward for you how food chains work, the basic principles behind them. Basically, you need to make sure that the arrows go to the things that are being eaten, okay? Or go from what's being eaten to what's doing the eating. And so here's a picture of a producer or plant. They see the arrow going into the caterpillar, which shows that the caterpillar is eating the plant. And so it's really important that you show that to show how the energy is being moved through one place to the other. Also make note that energy is lost at every one of these levels. And remember, it's the rule of 90 and 10. So only 10% of the energy actually can be transferred from one location to the other. 90% is lost as heat. So that's an important thing that you need to keep in mind as you work your way through a food chain. Also know that food chains are linear, so it's showing it right through here, the linear nature of food chains. Everything down here has to do with things dying, because things can die at any one of the levels. But food chains are typically a linear process, moving from one first level trophic levels up through whatever it may be, in this case showing fourth. Food webs are taking all of those food chains and interlocking them, putting them together. And so they are far more complex, but the rule of the arrows from one place to the other still holds true in this particular case. Arrows go from what is being eaten to what is doing the eating. So for instance, this ant is being eaten by that spider. And so that's basically a food web. Some terms for you, of course. Biomass. So when we talk about food webs, food chains, biomass is really important. It's basically the organic matter that makes up organisms. And so biomass is something that we keep track of. It's something that matters. And so if you look at the rule of 10, we're showing this food pyramid right here from a reference of biomass. And so right here, you start with 1,000 kilograms, you're down to 100, down to 10, you're down to 1. As you work your way up with powers of 10, you can do it with energy, you can do it with mass. There's lots of different ways to show this relationship of organisms, and biomass is one of those. Ecological efficiency, this is the relationship of 10 I was talking about. 10 goes through 90% lost. Efficiency is how well something happens or is transferred, how good it is at doing that process. And so not extremely efficient by any stretch, 10%. And that 10% is especially, you need to know that has to do with usable energy. So it's transferring energy that can actually be used for a function of some kind. These are all the same idea through and through, so I don't know I have this one in there, sorry. But it is important to keep in mind the second law of thermodynamics as we do this. This is why that rule of 10, or the principle of 10 is here. It has to do with the fact that energy is neither created nor destroyed, but it always ends up in a less usable form. So it decreases the amount of available or usable energy from one level to the next. Shows you right here that cellular respiration, or the breaking down of glucose to release energy, is 38% efficient, which isn't extremely efficient, but far more efficient than most vehicles and stuff at transferring energy. So 38% decent, but in the end you still end up losing from a variety of those other things, from cellular respiration through outputs. You lose energy, you lose it due to the growth and reproduction movement, and you end up with that rule that we talked about. New term for you, you need to be aware of it and be able to use it. Gross primary productivity or production, GPPP. Rate at which an ecosystem producers can convert solar energy into chemical energy. So it's how good the photosynthesis is in a specific place. If you were to put a value on that, gross primary productivity shows you how good an ecosystem is at creating biomass from solar radiation, basically in a nutshell. And so in this picture here, you'll see that if it's reddish, not very good at it. If it's blue, it's kicking good at it. And so things like rainforest and stuff are great at GPP. other places like high mountains and tundra and things like that, not so good at it. Which brings us to the next term, net primary productivity or production, and PP, which is kind of the next stage in this process from the GPP ideology here. And this is the rate at which producers use photosynthesis to store energy, minus the rate at which some of the energy is lost through respiration. So if you take your GPP and you take off that respiration piece right here, you end up with this. So in the end, it's not just how much it's being made, it's how much is left behind after respiration happens. So this kind of gives you a better indication of what actually is being produced for use past the organism itself. And you see that down here, if it's green, darker green means that it's really good at NPP, and if it's white, it's not very good at it at all. And you see, like right here, rainforest galore, very good at it. You see all the rainforest regions are very good at it, and you can see the polar regions and the deserts have low NPPs. This is a breakdown of ecosystems in general and their particular level of NPP. And so swamps and marshes and tropical rainforests take the cake for really high levels of NPP, and deserts and tundra areas not very high at all. And so you make that assumption just looking at how much stuff can grow in those locations. When it comes to aquatic worlds, which a lot of people don't think about, estuaries take the cake. They are extremely biodiverse and produce a lot of things. Deep ocean, not so much so. But you see that that doesn't vary as much as land-based stuff does. It's still, even though the deep ocean, relatively speaking, has a low NPP, it's still higher than deserts, for instance. That's the end of section 4. Let's talk about section 5 next.